Hi, here's the three things that keep us from healing. Number one, defensiveness and justification of our suffering. Number two, ego and identification of our attachment disease. Number three, life, enjoyment, and free flow in our lives. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please like my video. Please like my channel. Share the video. See you soon. There you go. There's the version that everyone wants. Maybe not. I decided to film this in my kitchen with this lighting towards the side because it's really professional and it looks really classy. And then I specifically put Hyperion Herbs product right there in the background because it's subliminal advertising. So whenever you're watching this video, you're hearing me talk, but really your subconscious mind's going to tell you to go to Hyperion Herbs and buy some gynostemma, which I think that is. So anyway, so what are the three things that keep us from healing naturally? Number one, our defensiveness and justification for our suffering, and the corollary pleasure and positive rewards that we get from that. It might sound really weird, but we'll explain and unpack it as we go. And we might think that, oh wait, I have this disease or this suffering or this thing. Of course I would want to get rid of it. Of course it would make sense that we would want to feel better. But humans don't make sense, in case you haven't noticed. In case you haven't been up to speed on the weird shit that we do and the stupid, ridiculously silly things that we've done throughout the course of history. It doesn't make sense. So we could have an actual disease and have an actual illness, and if someone or something is going to help us or have a suggestion to take us in a different direction, then our defensiveness and our justification kicks in. It says, oh, we could say, oh, for example, okay, well, I just have bad memory. I'm really short of memory and I just can't think clearly and blah, 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 blah. Okay. To that we could respond, well, everyone has a monkey mind. No one's really focused. Everyone just goes all over the place, and that's just kind of where we're at in the world. Oh, wait, no. Mine's way worse. Mine's serious, and let me give you 5 examples of why that's true. And really what we're saying there is not that any ultimate classification of good or bad, greater or worse, but really just getting us to a place to say, oh yeah, that's true, I'm not alone in this, quote, suffering. Tons of other people experience this. It's partially just human nature. It's the nature of the mind. Maybe mine's a little worse, but again, compared to who, compared to what, compared to when. And it's really only opening a door to say, oh, well, maybe I can just learn to work with that, and observe that my mind does all this weird shit and laugh at it and move on with my life. It's just one kind of silly example to really illustrate this defensiveness and justification. And this happens a lot if you actually work with people. When you say, oh, well, have you looked at it like this? Or have you considered this? Have you tried that? Maybe look at this. Oh, and then fill in the blank. The other thing that I mentioned is this pleasure that we can get from having a disease. So that pleasure could come in the form of groups, social groups and clubs that we belong to based around that thing. It could be the attention that we get from people. It could be the conversation that it allows us to have with people in the simple way it allows us to relate to people, is we have, oh, I am this, so you can relate to me in this way, and it gives us a sense of control and a sense of power, because it allows us to sort of dominate a situation with whatever the thing might be. Now, this isn't necessarily something that people consciously do. It's unconscious most of the time, which is why it sounds weird. But we all kind of do it because it's human condition, and we do it to varying degrees depending on where we're at. So if someone were to say, oh, that's easy, don't worry about it, that's really no big deal, then in the mind it's presented with, wait, I have to get rid of the social group and the friends and all the positive stuff associated with that. I have to learn a new way to relate to people and to relate to myself, and I don't have this identity. I don't have this thing that's at the forefront of my awareness all the time. What am I going to do? There's a void that's empty. I don't know. That's scary. That's new. That's change. Raises all this resistance. So that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is really along those same lines, and that is the identification and ego attachment to whatever that is. And that is where we start to label ourselves as the thing. And that's a really inhuman thing to do. It's a really subhuman thing to do to ourselves. Because who we are and our total of our experience and our body and our existence and our sense of being alive is bigger than the label. And it's actually a form of violence. Because we're taking this living, breathing, dynamic process when reducing it to a word on a piece of paper. And, when you go to jail, you aren't a person anymore. You become a number. People would say, oh, that's fucked up. That's, or that's what they get because they're a criminal and they're less human now, or whatever. But what about when we do it to ourselves? What about when we get morbid and, oh, I am this, I have that, I am, no. And yes, maybe it's true, but is it helping us to really invest our identity and our version of who we are with that, especially if it's something that we maybe want to move past or let go or whatever. And, and maybe it's important to look at what is normal. Okay, well, maybe we have this thing over here, but what about the rest of our life that maybe we can function at totally normally? Maybe we have depression or something, but we can walk, we can run, we can exercise, we can relate to people, we can talk, we can write, we can eat food, we can cook food, we can grow food, we can do things with our hands, we can maybe sleep, we can maybe have a good shit, we can maybe digest food, we can maybe do a ton of things that are normal and good and healthy. But what happens is the mind identifies and so attaches with this one thing that we just ignore everything else. And it's not that that's good or bad, right or wrong, or you should or shouldn't. It's just it's not really very human. It's not very respectful towards life. And it's, again, like I said, an act of violence on a subtle level. So those are the first two. The third is lack of enjoyment and free flow in our lives. And this is really a big one because the vast majority of the way we approach and look at healing is incorrect and not necessarily that functional because it's following the line of thinking which is leading us to buying into and adopting the mindset that I talked about in 1 and 2. So really, in my experience, in my opinion, the way we get over things or heal things or move past things probably is not force on force, unless obviously it's a very acute situation. If you have a gash wound or you have a huge infection, yeah, you need to get on that. You need to get that shit done. That's common sense. That's obvious. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more other lingering chronic things that are more rooted in stress, anxiety, fear, imbalance, whatever. So how we move on from those things is usually not what's found in self-help. Because basically if we label ourselves, oh, I have this thing, and now I need to figure out how I can fix this thing. But how can that thing fix itself? Meaning, oh, I have anxiety, I have this and that. So how is anxiety going to heal anxiety? How is, if we're saying that, oh, this anxiety is bad and I hate it and I don't like it, I want to get rid of it, that thing is informing probably our thought process and our decision making. So will that lead us to the correct or right thing? Maybe, maybe not. Because there is something to be said for the legitimacy and value and usefulness of pain and suffering. Because sometimes if we didn't have those things, we wouldn't be on the path that we're on. We wouldn't do the things that we do. We wouldn't be led to the experiences that we have. We wouldn't learn the lessons that we learn. So there's also that dynamic in the process as well. But really what I'm trying to get at, and why I said lack of enjoyment and free flow, is that often the best way to get over things or heal things or whatever is just to basically make it irrelevant. And that is summed up in a quote from Buckminster Fuller, who said that you don't, I'm going to butcher it, I'm going to paraphrase it, whatever, but he basically said that you don't really change something by, working on it and doing this and doing that and trying to replace it. What you do is you create something that makes that thing irrelevant, and then you can have change. And if we look at how things play out in most of the world, that kind of makes sense and is pretty easy to see. So rather than we can really work on our negativity and work on our X, Y, or Z that we want to get rid of. But what does that create? Or if we look at enjoyment, free flow, movement, well, those usually create more of themselves. So that's kind of really what I'm saying, is we get immersed and involved in things that we like, things that we enjoy, things that are fun, or interesting. It doesn't even have to be any of those things. It could just be like, I'll give it a shot, we'll see, I don't know, maybe. It could be just something. And we get immersed, we get focused, we get concentrated on something, we get caught up in that, and then we use that, and it makes the other thing pretty much irrelevant sometimes. Which is why the value of eating well, sleeping well, exercising, doing yoga, meditation, breathing, all these different things which can help us feel good in our body, naturally things can start to fall away. Without effort, without conscious A, B, or C, it's just So an example of that is I used to be a really crazy sugar junkie, for pretty much all my life, just because I ate what everyone eats. A meal was a pizza and a 2-liter Mountain Dew. Dessert was a bunch of cookies or some cake and ice cream. And for most of my life, I ate a huge bowl of cookies and cream ice cream every night without fail before going to bed. Is there any wonder I didn't sleep too well for sometimes? I don't know. So what a lot of people do is, sugar cravings, they're evil. Gotta get rid of them. I gotta do this fast, I gotta do this cleanse, I gotta do this diet, I gotta do this, I gotta get rid of it. Or see this thing for what it is. Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah, it doesn't really make us feel very good. Okay. So perhaps what I did was to say, well, I'm definitely gonna get my exercise game on point, meaning do yoga every day for a few hours, do some meditation, breathing. Oh, it feels good. Yeah. Okay, start eating organic, start eating better food. All right. Probiotics. So started eating fermented foods, started eating a variety of fermented foods and sauerkraut and kimchi, whatever, taking probiotics. And then, what do you know? Eventually, sugar cravings went through a process, and then eventually it just went away. It took time. And that's the thing, is we think, okay, I spent 15 years working on this disease, but I need to get rid of it in 2 days. Really? I spent 20 years being in debt, and I need to get rid of it today. Really? Do you know how to smartly manage your money? Do you know how to wisely invest it? Do you know how to budget? Do you know what you can actually afford? Well, no, but I just need to get rid of it. Oh, maybe there's things that have to happen and fall into place, and then other things can be built upon that foundation. Really what we're talking about. So it just comes down to building that solid foundation, realizing that, oh yeah, I see this thing, I'm doing the foundational stuff, and I accept and understand that it might happen overnight, maybe. It might happen instantly, I don't know. I'm not that much of a psychic. Or maybe it'll take time. I don't know, I'm not that much of a psychic either, but we have to develop that discernment to be able to step back and just see the thing for what it is, and go with the process. And then the stronger our foundation becomes, the more that thing will probably make us feel like shit. And the more, unless we really hate ourselves, the more it'll just naturally fall in line. We just won't want to do it. Another example is I used to stay up really late every day, 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m. every night, just doing it, sleep till noon. And then as other things in my life started to balance out, I realized, man, this makes me feel like shit. Now if I do it, I'm like, I don't really like it. It doesn't affect me as much anymore if I occasionally do it, but it still doesn't feel as good as if I go to bed early and wake up early. But it didn't happen overnight, and it's in fact taken me a while of trying to do it, and then eventually it just sort of clicked. But again, can't force it necessarily, because again, it's the examples and things that I talked about earlier. Whatever, this video's already long. Everyone complains my videos are too long. I should make them 3 to 5 minutes. Oh, they're too long. My response is, maybe your attention span is just short. Or I'm just a boring speaker and what I'm saying is relevant and I could just say whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And hopefully this has been helpful. And I'll talk to you soon.